Friday, February 19th, I'm pretty sure. Start of the 8th week of the year, and been trying to figure out how to focus these jog vlogs, because I know there are things that I could talk about that people are relatively interested in hearing from, that I have some expertise or knowledge of, that I maybe should try to focus on. Education and literature and young adult literature, and as part of teaching especially. A lot of people have asked me to focus more on my experience dealing with my stents since I had a heart attack in 2017 and then came back running. And I don't know, whenever I finish these runs, all I'm aware of is running. I've been running for a long time, and I can hardly imagine not running, which doesn't mean that it is easy to get out the front door, ever. I can't imagine not running for a year, but I can imagine not running for a day, every single day. Running has been a really important part of my life. I've been part of very ad hoc, loose running communities, not really so much formal running clubs or teams or anything like that. Just friends who ran that have held together. Most of the people I ran with over most of the years, I have not been able to sustain the way I have. I've been really lucky to stay relatively healthy, other than a couple heart attacks. It's strange for me that as much as I feel frustrated over my pace, to recognize I'm running more regularly and quicker than all but very few of the people I've ever run with through my life. I mean, I know lots of younger people that just kill me, of course, but overall, it's been a lifetime, and it's hard for me to talk about other things when I just finished running. I'll try to think of something tomorrow. Probably talk about running. It is Saturday, February 20th, and I just finished 7 miles, and there is a horrendously harsh headwind all the way home. The first 3.5 miles were pretty pleasant, and then I turned around and discovered why the first 3.5 miles had been so pleasant. Really, really blowing. It's February 21st, it's Sunday, and my phone is dying, but I think it's just a screen, so hopefully this will record okay. The winds have mostly abated, still a little breezy, but nothing like yesterday. The day before, Friday, I started talking about running and how it's hard for me to talk about much else. I bet this is horribly backlit. I should walk this way. When I started running, I was 14, it was 1972, and I had no intentions of being a runner. I started running rather to get in shape, to do conditioning work for motocross racing, something I was very devoted to through most of my teen years, starting at 14 and running all through my teen years. And I just ran 2 or 3 miles a day, started with 2 and built up to 3. We had 20 acres at the time out in the country. Mostly flat field, and I plowed an oval around it, and I would just run around that thing. It's about a 1/4 mile, and I would set up cans, because otherwise I would lose track of how many laps I had done. So I would put out 8 to 12 cans and kick them over each lap I went. But yeah, I had no intentions of being a runner, but that's probably really where I got my start, was to get in shape to race motorcycles. And truth be told, probably the 3 or 4 hours a day I usually spent aggressively riding dirt bikes across through the woods and of northern Michigan probably did more to prepare me for running than the running did to prepare me for riding the bike, but that's where I got my start. Just talk to you tomorrow. Hello again, it is Monday, February 22nd, and I just finished a 10K that, though slightly warmer, that has been felt almost like a habit, which is one kind of small victory. So I started running to get in shape for motocross when I was 14, and I guess 3 years later, my very good friend Jim Gardner talked me into coming out for cross country. I had never done any kind of high school sports. I had always been obsessed with racing motorcycles and snowmobiles throughout the year, and so high school sports weren't really my thing, but I really liked Jim and some of the other guys on the team, so I came out for cross country my senior year. And I was not a stellar runner. I usually was like 8th man on the team, I guess, out of probably a team of 9 or 10 guys. And so generally didn't even run varsity. I did get a varsity letter, I think mostly because Coach Woodland, still a mentor to me, he liked me, I guess. Don't know why. I had a habit of getting lost on the race course. I was injured because of a motorcycle crash halfway through the season, and I just still came out and ran. Stumbled through the race and carried the course map all the way through me, and then stumbled up to the finish line and made a big dramatic leap across the finish line. Coach seemed to like those kind of things. We were a pretty good team. We had the Van Uck brothers, they were both good, and Jim and Gardner, and we did all right. So maybe that's helped Coach overlook some things in me, or maybe he understood that cross-country running was never about beating other teams. It was about finding something inside yourself. That's what I grew to love about it and about running over the last 49 years. Anyway, that was another step in my evolution as a runner, was running high school cross-country my senior year in a very unspectacular fashion. Talk to you again tomorrow. It is Tuesday, 23rd of February, and the temperature jumped 17 degrees today over what it had been. It was 79 degrees starting out this afternoon, which made the run something akin to brutality. That would be okay probably in the summer, midsummer, but it would feel good summer. But that jump from 61, 62 degrees that we've been having most days up to 79 was awful. So where was I in the story of my running, which I think I'm doing this week? After high school, cross country my senior year, I didn't really run that much. I went off to college, and the first couple years, if I stayed in shape at all, it was mostly riding bike, running once in a while, but a lot of dancing and an extreme amount of burning my candle at both ends and sometimes in the middle. But after a couple years, I somehow accidentally wound up on the soccer team at Alma College, and being a terrible second string soccer player, spent a lot of bench time. But at practice one day, I had a collision with another second stringer, really severe collision, and I almost took him out of the game and broke his ankle, and we wound up being best friends. Tom Francis, and he was a cross-country runner for the college, and somehow he convinced me, I convinced him to join a fraternity, and he convinced me to come out and go running with him and I guess a few of the other guys from the cross-country team. And I was in reasonable shape, but not like cross-country runners. And after like a mile and a half or so, I decided I needed to show them that I wasn't a total loser, and for some reason I went off on a bat out of hell sprint for a good quarter mile, and I'm sure they were quite amused as I ran off into the distance, knowing that after a quarter mile I would be walking and wanting to die, and they quickly caught up with me and went by as I walked back to school. But for some reason I got dragged out again and then again, and started running regularly with Tom, and he became my best friend for many, many years. Lifelong friend, still my best friend. One of 2 or 3 guys that wears that moniker. And that summer of '79, we went on a fraternity retreat, and he convinced me to do my first 10K, the Nike Fair run in Dowagiac, Michigan. I ran my first mile in that race in 5 minutes and 30 seconds. It would be several years of serious running before I would run another mile anything close to that pace. And that was a 10K run, 6.2 miles. First mile in 5:30, had to walk in a mile and a half. Finished in like 51:50, I believe, and that started me running as the career I know it today, and I really have never looked back or stopped running more or less constantly since then. So that took me into my adult years, such as they were for me. Talk to you again tomorrow. There's a moon up there. Hello, Wednesday the 24th of February, and it felt bad today. I wanted to take a day off, but I managed to push through what I think of as an Alma College short loop, meaning it was 4.5 miles long, a run we used to do at Alma College, where, as I mentioned before, my good friend Tom Francis dragged me into running. We were members of a very, very small service fraternity, the Sigma Betas, and one of our exploits was to put on a 10K race, which we did because before checking with any of the other members of the fraternity, we sent in and took out an ad in Michigan Runner news magazine that was published at the time, saying we were going to put on this race. And so then we went to the fraternity and said, we took out an ad saying we're going to put on this race. And so we did. A couple years, the Sigma Beta Missing Mountain 10K, called that because there were like no hills in Alma. The mountain was missing. Then I finally graduated from college, kept running. And after years of proclaiming that there was never any reason that anyone should ever want to do more than a 10K, started to do longer races. The Williamston Half Marathon, one of my favorites, and eventually the Detroit Free Press Marathon. Never ran one very well, but I've done 10 of them over the years. Not in the last 20 years, but I've done them. And also I continued trying to drag other people into the sport with my first job was working in radio marketing for WQON radio in Grayling, Michigan, and I convinced the radio station that they needed to put on a 10K race, and we put on the Hanson Hills Challenge with my friend Jim again. Helped me lay out that course. It was a very hilly course, unlike Alma. We were very proud of it because it was a challenge. We called it a challenge, and it was truly a challenge. And then when I finally came out to California many years later, some years later, I came out to teach, and part of my job was to work as cross-country coach, and for 16 years I did that. Started coaching just girls and then coached both girls and boys, and I love doing that. There's not much better you can do. There are no better people that you can work with than high school cross-country runners, and it was a joy for 16 years until they decided they wanted to find someone who was better at winning than me. And I haven't done that in a while, but I've continued to run and keep on doing it. Talk to you again tomorrow. Hello, Thursday, February 25th, 56 days or 8 weeks into the year. And today was probably the best run I've had this week. I only ran about 5.5 miles, but the pace was good and I didn't feel any trouble at all through most of it. I doubt if this is because I got my first COVID vaccination this afternoon, but then I did get my first COVID vaccination this afternoon and ran my best run of the week today. felt best, so I'll take it. And let's wrap up the history of Steve's running, which I seem to indulge in this week. So I kept running, and running got me through a lot of difficult times and personal struggles. And then 2016 was a big year. I was at most YouTube, my peak in YouTube, and friend Michael Aranda put forth the idea of running 2016 miles in the year 2016, and I thought that sounded just cool enough to be crazy, or crazy enough to be cool, or something. But I said, yeah, let's do that. I'll do it. And I don't know if he was ever serious. He didn't stick with it. I tried to encourage other people to take this up. I called it the Arandanaut Challenge. I was the only one who stuck with it more than a couple weeks at most, I think. But I did it. I wound up running 2,069 miles. It's the only time in my life I ran every day of the year. I never missed a day, and to this day, I don't understand how I did that, because it was crazy. But the strange thing is, after running every day of that year, shortly into 2017, and got to April, I was not running every day, but I was running consistently. April of 2017, I went out, did a 10-mile run, couldn't finish, and long story short, I had a heart attack. That story's been told, but running saved my life. My cardiovascular system was strong, even though heart was strong, even though my veins were mostly clogged, probably from high fructose corn syrup, consumed at insane quantities throughout most of my life, along with a steady diet of a lot of pizzas and macaroni and cheese and rice and cheese and everything else. So, changed my diet some. Had 3 stents placed. After a couple weeks, came back out. Spent 2 days on a treadmill. I hate treadmills, so I got back out on the roads. Started running again. Came back pretty well. Those stents are amazing things. Ran a half marathon. Thank you, Susan Lemzus, at the time. Susan Blakely now, I think. Hope I got that right. Yeah, ran a half marathon in that fall at night. That was cool. And then about a year later, those first, at least 1 or 2 of those stents failed, and I had to get 2 more stents. A setback, but came back again, started running again. I am much slower now. It is frustrating at times how slow I am, but I still go out every day that I can, as much as I can, and hope to for as long as I can. I think sometimes about retiring, hanging up the running shoes, how nice it would be to just not go out, to just stay on the couch. But I'm not ready for that yet. Not for a while. That's my story. Love to hear yours. Until next time, don't forget to be awesome, and I will talk to you again soon, hopefully.